Hey people, it is Wednesday, March the 3rd, and it is 4:46 in the afternoon, and the temperature is a fairly pleasant 7 degrees Celsius, but with the wind chill it feels more like 3 degrees Celsius, but still not too bad. And I'm here at the corner of Yonge Street and Davenport Road, and on the other side is Church Street. But I'll be walking south along the length of downtown Yonge Street, which is something I feel like I haven't done in a while, walking throughout the length of the downtown portion of Yonge Street. I know I've done some recent videos walking along small sections of Yonge Street, but being such a nice day, I thought I'd walk the whole length of it today. And it's getting close to rush hour, so I'm just curious to see what it will be like in terms of pedestrian traffic. If it's any different than it has been throughout the rest of the lockdown. I doubt it. I noticed yesterday when I was on the subway getting close to rush hour, it seemed fairly busy to me. It seemed like there were more people on the subway than there had been in recent memory. So I thought maybe today would be a similar story. Of course, Toronto is still in the lockdown and stay-at-home order. That has not changed. Here's the Toronto Public Library, the reference library as they call it. It's the largest of Toronto's public library branches. It's the main downtown branch. It's looking into Yorkville. The facades of these old buildings are being preserved and will be incorporated into this new high-rise development. Very similar to what they did with the building right beside it, which is pretty much complete now. And more development is on the way at this site. It's a multi-tower development. And here we are, approaching Yonge and Bloor. That's 1 Bloor East, which for now is the tallest building in the northern end of downtown, in the Yorkville, Bloor-Yorkville area. And this is the construction site of the One at 1 Bloor West, which will surpass 1 Bloor East when completed by a good like 40 meters or so. I heard somebody just say, "Is that Johnny Strides?" Nope, afraid not. So here we are, Yonge and Bloor. You can get a nice diagram of the building. "95 stories, 338 meters. This will temporarily be the tallest building in the city because there's another building that's just starting construction. It's basically, they're still digging. That is approved to be taller than this building is currently approved for, but they did apply to increase the height here at One Bloor West. So if that application is approved, then it will surpass the height of the Sky Tower at One Yonge. It's sort of like a competition, it seems like. They're trying to outdo each other.
So now you're manufacturing all the things.
Crossing Charles Street, looking west, and then looking east. I was thinking maybe the nice weather today would have brought more people out and about, and maybe it did. But everything is still the same as far as restrictions go. No indoor dining, no indoor shopping, not even any outdoor dining. Only essential retailers are allowed in-store shopping at limited capacities. Some of these places have to make do with takeout and delivery and curbside pickup. Of course, there are some retailers that can't offer curbside pickup, so they're forced to just close. until we're moved into at least the gray zone, which allows for non-essential retailers to open with 25% capacity, and that might happen next week. I think I'll cross to the other side of the street. Although I'd have to walk underneath this construction hoarding, but I'll just point the camera out towards the street. Just to keep them calm down. I think they did a good job preserving the facades of these buildings when they redeveloped this block. And here's the former Gasworks, which was a rock and metal club back in the 80s and 90s. So you can see the difference between the buildings that they refurbished for this condo development and the ones right beside it, which are still looking a little worse for wear. Maybe they'll get a similar treatment in the future. Seems like every section of these old storefronts along Yonge Street is being redeveloped block by block by block. I don't know why that was hard to say. I think this section of buildings is slated for a similar redevelopment with a new tower going up on this corner. And now we're just crossing Wellesley Street. Looks like this building is getting some treatment. Got some new windows. And maybe something interesting will go in the retail space, hopefully. Not a bank. This used to be a strip of adult-oriented businesses, but it looks like they've pretty much all gone under, except for maybe Adult Mart there. And I've mentioned in other videos that Yonge Street at one time used to be just lined with adult entertainment, especially starting in the 70s and into the 80s. It was sort of a sin strip. That's what some people refer to it as, the Yonge Street sin strip. Looks like I have to cross the street again. Now this is rather annoying. Taking the construction hoarding down here, so that's a good thing. I think it's worth the short-term annoyance. Hopefully some new interesting retailers will go into these new spaces here. Here we have an application for another redevelopment here on this block. And before this was redeveloped, this was an interesting stretch of storefronts here. It was in an old plaza-style building that was built in the 1950s after the original buildings burned down, I believe. So the building they were in was definitely very unurban, didn't fit in with the rest of Yonge Street, but the stores that occupied it were actually pretty diverse and interesting and added some flavor to Yonge Street. And these new retail spaces look like they're a lot bigger, and obviously they'll be charging a lot more per square foot, and it seems very unlikely that whatever retailers come and fill these spaces will be anything like what it used to be, unfortunate as that is. Just no more banks, no more shoppers, no more Rexalls. That's all I ask. Here's another whole block of storefronts that were taken down. These ones were not preserved, except for one old building up ahead. This old clock tower building was the only one preserved on this block. Good job. That's Grenville Street. And Wood Street. Now this new condo was topped out or completed a good like couple of years ago, I think. And they took down the original storefronts here, which weren't anything to write home about. The building was not historical or interesting, so that doesn't bother me. What bothers me is they still haven't replaced the sidewalks. They just laid down this asphalt ages ago, and it's still here, and they don't seem to be in any kind of rush whatsoever to install proper sidewalks. So it just looks shabby and incomplete. That kind of stuff annoys me to no end. Alright, I will cross back to the other side again. We're at College Street on that side, and Carlton Street on this side. And there's College Park. Looking west down College, that will take you through Little Italy eventually, several kilometers to the west. And the Maple Leaf Gardens Loblaws is that way on Carlton. I did a recent video where I went in there for some pizza. And there's the Aura condominium. That is currently the tallest residential building in the city until the aforementioned One Bloor East, the One, and Sky Tower at One Yonge are completed. Although I believe One Bloor East is a mixed-use building. It has a hotel occupying some floors as well. It's not purely residential. I think Sky Tower is a purely residential building, if I'm not mistaken, as is the Aura. This mural depicts the musical history of Yonge Street. I thought this was pretty cool. There's another mural on the other side of the building. Yonge Street at one time was full of live music venues, mainly in the 1950s, 60s, and it wasn't until the 1970s that it started to wane as a destination for live music, and that's also when it became more of a destination for adult entertainment. It's like out with the bars and in with the the strip clubs and magazine stores and peep shows and massage parlors, all that stuff. So here's the mural on the other side of the building. If you look way up there, you can see Geddy Lee, Alex Lyson, and Neil Peart. Otherwise known as Rush. And that's looking into College Park, as in the actual park, as well as the Barbara Ann Scott ice skating trail, which I don't think is operational right now. I'm pretty sure it is done for the season. I don't think there's even any ice there left there, or very little. Here's another shot looking up at the Aura. Gerrard Street. Here's the site of a stalled condo project. They preserved this historic building on the corner, as well as a couple other ones further down. The rest of the old storefronts were demolished. And this used to be the location of Big Slice Pizza, which I was bummed to see go. And you can see they preserve the facades of these older buildings ahead. This project stalled when the development company went bankrupt, even though they dug a huge hole. And it's just been sitting there ever since, waiting for someone to take over the project. Someone with very deep pockets. The building was proposed to be 85 stories, which would be taller than the Aura, but shorter than one Yonge and one Bloor East, or West, one Bloor West, the one. And we're getting close to Dundas Square. Gotta love the sidewalk cyclists. We have a bunch of food stands here. And there's the Ryerson University Student Learning Center. It's a pretty cool building. Got a new Jollibee location. They're popping up all over the city. This used to be full of record stores and t-shirt shops and all kinds of sort of youth-oriented businesses here along this part of Yonge Street. Lots of those are gone now. There's still some semblance of that though. The Silver Snail comic store did locate here, relocated from Queen Street. That Foot Locker location just recently took over that spot. It was formerly a Jordan store. So here's Yonge-Dundas. Dundas Square, I've been to here many times in other videos and in live streams. This is usually the busiest place in the entire city. It's never been anywhere near its normal level of activity ever since the pandemic. It'd be nice if maybe this summer or closer to the end of the year, if things are somewhat back to normal here. For now, I have to look at some of my old videos from 2019 to see what it used to be like, just to remember. If you're curious yourself, check out some of those videos. Unfortunately, I was not using this camera. Back then I was using just a phone without a gimbal, so those old videos are a bit shaky, but they're still watchable. For God's sakes, you're a grown man, right on the street. Now this part of Yonge Street, south of Dundas, is a little quieter usually than it is north of Dundas. The Eaton Center is right here, taking up this entire block. It's a huge indoor shopping mall. It was first opened in 1977. Like the Stag Shop is open for curbside pickup. And now we're here at Shuter Street, kind of getting close to the financial district portion of Yonge Street. Which does tend to get very busy on a weekday rush hour when all those office towers are full of tens of thousands of office workers, but of course that's not the case now. The majority of those office workers have been working from home for like almost a year now. So the financial district has been all but a ghost town. But they're still building new office towers. They haven't they haven't stopped that. So I think they're pretty confident that the office workers will return, at least in a kind of like maybe 3 days a week in the office, 2 days a week at home kind of arrangement. Here's the Massey Tower. This new retail space is still yet to be announced. Hopefully it's something interesting. There you can see the condo, which is actually a pretty beautiful building. And they incorporated this old bank building as its lobby. And this other old bank building is still awaiting some sort of rejuvenation or redevelopment. It will never be demolished. It will most likely be treated in a similar manner to this one. How are you? Check out my next video. Okay. Bye. Some people that I know. It's always cool to run into friends when you're out and about.
From you.
I'm sorry.
God bless.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. At Queen Street. There's the Hudson's Bay Company store and also Saks Fifth Avenue. They both share the same building. Saks Fifth Avenue is owned by the Hudson's Bay Company, if you didn't know. At Richmond Street. I did a recent video where I walked the entire length of Richmond Street from the east all the way to where it ends in the west. It's like almost an hour long. I thought it was a pretty interesting street to dedicate a long video to. We're in the financial district.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll cross to the other side again. It's looking down Adelaide Street. And looking back north up Yonge Street. I did a video walking along most of Adelaide Street through the downtown just recently also. This time walking from west to east. I also thought this is a pretty impressive big city canyon here looking down Adelaide. And up ahead here is a collection of historic skyscrapers. They grew up around the intersection of Yonge and King in the early 20th century. Within the first 10 to 20 years of the 20th century. I think this one is my favorite. It's been getting a refurbishment over the last year or so. And it looks pretty good. It looked good before, I thought, but I think, yeah, maybe it does look nicer now. It's not as dark. It's lightened up. It had the bricks were definitely a lot darker before, probably just with years of soot and pollution caked on them. Here we are at King Street. That's Commerce Court North, that historic skyscraper. That was the tallest building in the city for several decades. I think from 1930 until 1967. I think the first Toronto Dominion Centre tower overtook it in the mid-60s during its construction. And that one was topped out, as I mentioned, in 1967. And there you can see First Canadian Place, which is the current tallest building in the city. Although that will be overtaken by those new condos I mentioned earlier. That clocks in at 298 meters, which is 2 meters shy of super tall status. And there's Commerce Court West, designed by I.M. Pye, or Pay. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name. Yeah, we'll take a look back north. I've always liked these old office towers. Here's the Hotel Victoria. It's a nice historic hotel. Yeah, just crossing Wellington Street. And I think this used to be the location of Pick Six, I think it was called. It was one of Drake's restaurants, restaurants. It went under for some reason or other. I'm not too sure what the reason was. And we are at Front Street. And you can see the L Tower. It's a condominium. That's looking east into the St. Lawrence Market neighborhood. Here's the Dominion Public Building. And there we have the CN Tower finally making an appearance. It's kind of a bummer that it's really not visible walking most of the length of Yonge Street. Through the downtown anyway. Further up ahead is Union Station. And here we have some more of the financial district bank towers. And that's the first tower of the One Yonge development. That's not the super tall one. The super tall tower will be rising right beside it though. As I was saying, the super tall will be rising right beside it. There's currently a hole in the ground, as I was saying. They're just excavating. And that's the new CIBC Square office tower. The first of two, the second of which will go right here. And they're already beginning prep for that building. It will basically be a twin of the first tower, just slightly taller. And it will be oriented in a different direction than this building, kind of turned sideways. And this was the site of the former GO bus terminal, which was replaced by a new terminal at the base of CIBC Square. I did some videos covering that. I did a walk through the old GO bus terminal right before it closed down, and then I did a walkthrough of the new GO bus terminal on its opening day. So this will soon be the site of yet another giant office building. And that's looking down the Esplanade. And that's looking underneath the rail corridor. And Lake Ontario is just a block further past those lights. So I think I'll end my walk here. Hope you enjoyed this walk down through the downtown portion of Yonge Street, from Davenport Road all the way down here to the Esplanade and the rail corridor. If you did enjoy this, please, by all means, subscribe, like, share, comment, tell your friends and your family. Be sure to hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. And if you'd like to support the channel, there's a link in the description where you can do so via PayPal. And I'm also on Instagram under KContinuum if you'd like to look me up on there. And keep an eye out for my next live stream. I'll be doing one again in the very near future. So thanks for watching. And be sure to keep checking back, because as always, I will continue.